Good morning, everybody, and a happy Thursday morning to you. A big thank you to St. Meghan Markle for this picture above. I think that is spot the heck on. A little bit longer video because there's so much going on with everybody, so let's just jump in and cover it, shall we? Let's go. It was the day we were waiting for. We knew that French President Macron was coming with his wife to Windsor. They're celebrating 1,000 years of friendship between UK and France and all the pomp and circumstance. And it was moved to Windsor Castle because of the refurbishments going on at Buckingham Palace. So the day of arrived, and here comes Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales. They were the first members of the British royal family to welcome French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife, I believe it's Brigitte, to the country. This occurred on July 8th, and this officially kicked off the visit. They went to the RAF Northolt, which is an air base located in Greater London. They arrived about 11 a.m. local time. Oh my goodness, Catherine's hair. My goodness. So, of course, the president and his wife came off the plane and were greeted. And Bridget Macron was seen saying to Catherine, "So good to see you. You look great," which she did. Catherine was wearing Christian Dior for the first time. It was a color called Soft Blush. We've seen this color on her. I don't know if you guys remember that wedding she went to before she was diagnosed with cancer with William. Anyway, it's this beautiful soft blush color. It looked great. It was from the 2024 collection, and it looked like 1947. It emphasizes female tailoring and structure, and she paired it with a hat by Jess Collette. The pearl earrings were once Princess Diana's, and the necklace was from Queen Elizabeth. Camilla was looking absolutely gorgeous in this emerald green outfit. So after William and Catherine met the Macrons, they traveled together by car to Windsor Castle, where the French president and his wife were formally welcomed by King Charles and Queen Camilla. Now, at the same time, a royal salute was being fired in Home Park in Windsor, as well as at the Tower of London. Now, something interesting that came out, Catherine curtsied 4 times. Apparently, what happened was she gave the 2 curtsies in the background, but it looked like what happened was King Charles and Queen Camilla didn't see it. They missed her greetings, well, because they were chatting with the president and his wife. So when Catherine and William came over to talk with the king and queen, she did it again, just to make sure that it was seen. That's my point. She makes sure that royal protocol is followed to a T. I just love that. I'm showing you this clip now because I think it's just so funny the way they're trying to greet each other. And people, by the way, were also talking about the fact that Mr. Macron kissed the hand of Camilla and, of course, at Catherine's at the airport. There was some suggestion it might be against royal protocol. As it turns out, for those that are wondering, it is not against royal protocol. It was perfectly acceptable. That is a French thing, and there's no obligatory codes of behavior when you're meeting the Queen. So eventually everybody got their kissing out of the way. There was another royal salute. There was the playing of the French and British national anthems. And then President Macron and King Charles inspected the guard of honor. Let me just go back and just say, as far as Catherine's outfit goes, that just shows you how you can do power and send signals and messages based on your clothing. And of course, your jewelry. Catherine doesn't wear 50 bracelets on an arm, and she doesn't wear multiple diamonds all over her hands, and less is more. You know what I'm saying? She is the epitome of class. Now, people did notice that the 2 of them seemed to be doing a little cuddling and canoodling while they were up on the stand, but I think after what's going on with Catherine, that I can totally get that. Now, people noticed Charles, if you take a closer look, his eye. The palace did put out a statement. This has nothing to do with his cancer. He simply burst a blood vessel in his eye. It happened overnight. His vision is unaffected. Now, when all of that was over and they had looked at the honor guard, at least I'm assuming I'm in the right order, you guys. It's not that easy. They then hopped in the carriages for the official, carriage ride through Windsor. There were a lot of people lining the streets. Now, the first thing I noticed was that I've never seen anyone get into a carriage with such grace and style. So I'm just going to label them by number. So carriage number 1 had King Charles and President Macron. They were by themselves. Carriage number 2 had Queen Camilla and Mrs. Macron. They were in a carriage by themselves as well. And again, there were lots of crowds, which is why Camilla was waving. And then you got to carriage number 3, which had William and Catherine. Now, I have looked everywhere to try to figure out who those two people were in the carriage with them, and I have been unable to figure out who the heck it was. But the carriage ride actually took them around Windsor Castle. I'm not sure exactly where they went, but it took them through the streets of Windsor, heading to the castle in fashion. And I have to say one more time, I love Catherine's outfit. She is look at that. That is somebody who knows how to take a picture. And they're not airbrushed. Thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what she was wearing. We're moving on to the next event. Eventually, they made it to Windsor Castle, where they went in for lunch. And after lunch, the royals viewed an exhibition of art and other items from the royal collection that were related to France. And this happened in the green drawing room at Windsor Castle. I'm not going to lie, I wish that there were some better pictures to showcase the items that are on the table that everybody seems to be looking at. I myself would be very interested to see what all is in the royal collection, because these are items that they'll be put away and then they'll pull them back out for the next state visit, and the rest of us don't get to see what they are. I think it would be really interesting to look at all the artifacts. And one of the other things that they did look at were some miniature books that were created by Queen Camilla. They were also on display to be seen. Now, of course, it wouldn't be an event without Secret Weapon Sophie, who was there, as was Edward and the Gloucesters. You'll see them milling about in the background. One item from France that they're going to go look at, which wasn't in the green room, was a horse. The Macrons are going to visit, I think it's called Fabule de Mercure. I don't know if I said that right. It was a horse given by the French leader to the late Queen Elizabeth in 2022 when the nation was celebrating the Platinum Jubilee. So, they're going to want to go visit the horse for sure. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what Sophie was wearing during this event. Let's move on. Next up, the French president and his wife visited Westminster Abbey in the afternoon. They were welcomed by the Reverend David Stanton, sub-dean and member of the chapter. Canon Stanton led prayers at the grave of the unknown warrior before inviting President Macron to lay a wreath in honor of all of those who had given their lives in the cause of peace. After the wreath-laying ceremony, members of the Abbey choir sang a song by a French composer. He then escorted the President and Mrs. Macron on a tour of the Abbey. They were shown the high altar, the Consmati pavement, the shrine of St. Edward the Confessor, and the royal tombs. And then following the tour, they signed the Distinguished Visitors book. Now, they last visited the Abbey in 2023 when they went to the coronation of the King and Queen. And then now it was time for the state banquet. Everybody was waiting to see what Catherine was going to wear, and she did not disappoint. First off, she dropped this photo, or she and William dropped this photo. Oh, gorgeous. Now, the room that they were in, I remember seeing this room when my husband and I toured Windsor. Beautiful architecture. These tables, they actually take tape measures, you guys, seriously. And they measure that every glass and every fork and every knife is exactly where it's supposed to be. It's crazy. They put out the menu, which of course was in French, but they show you what it is you're going to be eating for dinner. The royal family started coming out with their spouses. Now, this is important, so you'll see in just a second. First, we had Catherine and William, and Catherine is just a vision. After them, through the door, was Princess Anne with her husband, Sir Tim Lawrence. After them came Sophie and Edward, looking gorgeous, and behind them was the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Doesn't she look fabulous? Then they paired off for the walk-in, because now the Queen was next to Mrs. Macron, the King was next to Mr. Macron. They all kind of shifted positions, if that makes sense. I'm not sure who that is that William is talking to, but I believe that's one of the people that was in the carriage with him that I was unable to identify, and the same with Catherine. I don't know who these other people are. I just don't. But anyway, they go walking in. All the other people were milling about at the tables. Could you imagine? You're standing around the table, but you're not allowed to touch the table or sit down until everybody else shows up. Could you imagine? So we finally get down to the actual glitzy banquet. But before we get there, an official photo came out of Charles and Camilla with the president and his wife. And I couldn't help but notice that on Camilla, on her right shoulder, she's wearing the new miniature of King Charles that I told you about the other day. Remember that? Yeah, she's wearing the New Order picture. I love it. So anyway, they go walking into the room, and at some point, King Charles stood up to make a speech. It was peppered with French. He referenced how Windsor Castle had been built by my ancestor and yours sometimes countryman, William, Duke of Normandy. It was a reference to the fact that he had just taken over the country by conquest. Really quickly, I also wanted to be noted that the king said something really nice about William, and of course the papers picked it up that Harry wasn't mentioned. I mean, why would he? So here's what the king actually said.
The castle in which we meet this evening was begun by my ancestor and your sometime countryman, William, Duke of Normandy, in the year 1070. It remains the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. So it is perhaps rather appropriate that my son, the Prince of Wales, who shares that earlier William's name, has made Windsor his home with his family, like so many of our predecessors.
I have to be honest, I'm not exactly sure why the papers thought that the king would mention Harry, who has tried so hard to destroy the monarchy with his wife. I don't get that, but let's continue. And at some point during the night, Macron also gave what appears to be a really nice speech. Then they start clinking glasses, and everybody caught the fact that when Macron turned to Catherine to clink his glass, he winked at her. Hell, can you blame the man? I mean, dang. They called him the winking Macron. Now, also there that night was Elton John and his husband, David Furnish, I believe is his name. And also spotted there was Mick Jagger with his new fiance. So there was a lot of high-level named stars in the, area during dinner. A big thank you, as usual, to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what Catherine was wearing and also what Sophie was wearing. Ooh, gorgeous. Now, that was the end of day one. Of course, all the papers in the UK were covering Catherine, showing just how gorgeous she was. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love that. All right. So now let's move on to something else. All right. One more royal thing that took place. Edward Davis took the oath of the appointment as gentleman usher of the Black Rod, and he went to see the king to receive the insignia of his office. And on the same day, Sarah Clark relinquished her appointment as Lady Usher of the Black Rod, and she went in to hand over her insignia. All right, I've touched on this story, but some more information has come out. They're saying that, we know that they're going through staff quicker than toilet rolls. One of the interesting things that has happened was they fired 6 members of their PR team last month, including Charlie Gibson, who was the UK-based PR team, and their director of communications in Europe, and Kyle Boulia, their deputy press secretary, and also Leanne Cash, who was the former head of operations at Archwell. And it was just weeks after she was promoted to a senior consultant and praised by sources close to the couple. And of course, Disha Tank, Archwell's director of communications, resigned before the last purge. I want you guys to keep in mind that the number now of people that they've gone through since leaving the royal family, this doesn't include what went on in the UK, just since the royal family purge, since they've come to the United States, is 25. They have either fired or parted ways with 25 staff members. And there's more they're saying, but they just haven't been announced yet. And the reason they're doing this, according to the article, is that they are literally running out of money. I cannot wait to see this year's tax return. You know, the other articles that are coming out now are saying that Meghan Markle's star is on the rise. You could have fooled me. People in the United States don't like her. The only awards that they've picked up are ones that they purchased for themselves. And as a matter of fact, when Harry went to get the Pat Tillman Award, there was a $76,000 signed petition that people said don't give him the award, he didn't earn it. What's being said is that Harry always expected to play a supportive but not a supporting role. And that while he may be comfortable in his home with his wife and his children, he hasn't found comfort in success outside the home. His entire life is characterized by frustration, lack of any clear achievement, and his persistent struggle to carve anything either lucrative or fulfilling out of his life. And that is why Harry wants to go home. Nothing he's done has delivered long-term satisfaction, no independence. He hasn't been met with any universal support. His popularity has plummeted on both sides of the Atlantic. And those who know him say he's homesick and he feels out of place in California. And his social circle in California is limited to the husbands of Meghan's friends. They have to be approved by her or they can't hang out with him. It's crazy. The truth of the matter is, this is what Harry wants, but this is what Harry gets. His wife is next to the head of state. His wife is in the center of the table, and he's pushed over to the side, being so ignored during whatever the hell this was, that he just carries on eating his food because he's irrelevant, and he knows it. Seriously, guys, his fall from grace has been big, dramatic, and on the worldwide stage. I really think that Meghan sold him a bill of goods. Everybody's going to want you, Harry. The world's going to love you, Harry. And now he's hated on both sides of the Atlantic, and he's a nothing burger. He really is. No wonder he's so bitter and angry. And finally, this article came out from Radar Online. They're claiming that Harry's fears about his family being, injured are justified, and that the threats against the royal and his family are higher than ever. And if you can believe this, it's because they're claiming that Harry and Meghan and their kids have their names all over the dark web with encrypted channels used by terrorists to communicate. Are you kidding? We're all over the dark web. That doesn't mean anything. And they're going on to say that they are a high-value kidnap and torture commodity for jihadists to use against Britain and the West, and they're complete obsessives who are talking constantly and stalking them. Well, first of all, they shouldn't have left the royal family the way they did. Number two, Harry shouldn't have said that killing people was like knocking people off a chessboard. I mean, let's face it, he said a lot of really stupid things. But I'm sorry, I'm having trouble feeling bad for them because the royal family has seen an 11% rise in stalkers over the last 3 years because of what Harry and Meghan have done. 24 of the nearly 500 individuals flagged fell into a very serious category. So you shouldn't stoke hate against your own family, calling them racists and doing all these things, and then you want to cry that people want to hurt you. But after what you've done to the royal family, I have no sympathy. None whatsoever. You're a multimillionaire. Pay for your own security. Oh my goodness, you guys know what I want. Don't forget to put those comments down, make them good, hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications, then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wish list, a link to my second channel, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.